They fired me in front of security like I was a criminal. The new CEO said my salary didn't align with her vision, while my department generated nearly half the company's revenue. She thought she had won. But within 2 years, her empire crumbled to the ground, and I was the one standing on top. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or disrespected by someone who thought they were untouchable, you're going to love this story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up, because what starts as humiliation turns into one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. I had given this company my best years. 10 years of my life, pouring everything I had into building a department that wasn't just successful, it was essential. When I started, the department was tiny, almost forgotten. But I saw potential where no one else did. I hustled, I negotiated, I pulled late nights when others went home, and little by little, my team became the revenue powerhouse of the company. By the time the merger talks began, my department accounted for 40% of the company's entire income. Think about that. 4 out of every $10 flowing into the company had my team's fingerprints on it. I was proud. I felt secure. I thought, they can't possibly touch me. My work speaks for itself. That's when she arrived, the new CEO. She came from the other company in the merger, polished, confident, carrying herself like she was the smartest person in every room. She was the kind of executive who spoke in buzzwords instead of sentences. Synergy, compensation alignment, strategic restructuring. Behind all those terms was a blade, sharp and ready to cut. At first, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Mergers are messy. Maybe she just wanted to prove herself. But it didn't take long to see her true nature. She wasn't a leader, she was a destroyer. She saw the company not as people, not as relationships, but as numbers to shuffle around. And in her eyes, I was nothing more than an entry on a payroll sheet. The day she fired me is burned into my memory. She called me into her office. Her expression was calm, rehearsed, like she'd already practiced the speech in the mirror. 2 security guards stood just outside the door, waiting. My stomach dropped, but I kept my composure. Your salary doesn't align with our new compensation structure, she said smoothly. Like I was just some overpaid middle manager leeching off the system. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. My department was practically funding her vision, and she was calling me the misalignment. I could feel my pulse hammering in my neck. My hands itched to slam the desk, to shout, "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" But instead, I smiled. That was the last power I had in that moment, the power not to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. So I shook hands with a few colleagues who couldn't even meet my eye, nodded to the security guards, and walked out. No scene, no protest, just quiet dignity. But inside, I was a storm. I felt humiliated, betrayed, 10 years of loyalty tossed aside like trash. That night, I sat awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying her smug expression over and over. I clenched my fists until my knuckles went white, imagining every word I should have said. And then, the calls began. Clients I'd worked with for years started reaching out. "Where are you? Why weren't you on our last project? We don't feel comfortable continuing without you." That was when it hit me. She hadn't just fired me. She had fired the trust I had spent years building with clients. She had fired the relationships that made the company money. She had severed the artery that kept the whole body alive. At first, I resisted. I was too raw, too angry. I told clients I needed time, but as more calls came in, as more contracts wobbled, a new thought took shape in my mind. Maybe I didn't need to fight for scraps at another company. Maybe I could build something better. So I did. I started small. A consulting business, just me and a laptop in my kitchen. I signed a couple of clients who left the company after my departure. Within weeks, word spread. My phone lit up every day. Clients didn't want the company, they wanted me. I hired 2 trusted colleagues who had also been axed in the restructuring. We worked out of my garage, fueled by coffee, determination, and a shared hunger to prove them wrong. Slowly, project by project, we grew. Meanwhile, whispers drifted from my old company. Deals were collapsing, clients were leaving. Inside, chaos reigned. The CEO tried everything, slashing budgets, offering discounts, throwing around more buzzwords to mask the panic. But the truth was simple. She had cut away the people who held the company together. And I waited. That was the most delicious part of the revenge, not rushing in with fire and fury, but letting the cracks spread until the walls crumbled on their own. A year passed. My consulting business wasn't small anymore. We had an office, a team, and a reputation. Then came the ultimate blow. The company's biggest, most prestigious client, the one that had always been their crown jewel, walked away. Not just walked away, but signed with me. I still remember the day I signed that contract. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. This was it. The crown jewel had left her for me. A friend still inside the company told me later what happened when the CEO got the news. He said her face drained of color. Her voice shook as she tried to explain to the board that everything was fine, that they'd bounce back. But they didn't. They couldn't. Within 2 years of firing me, the company collapsed. The merger disintegrated. Assets were sold off. The CEO, gone, fired, vanished from the industry like a ghost. And me, my firm was thriving. We weren't just surviving, we were leading. We had surpassed the revenue my old department once made, and I no longer had to worry about compensation structures. I never sent her a message, never gloated, never rubbed salt in the wound. I didn't need to. Her downfall was loud enough on its own. Watching her empire crumble was more satisfying than any words could capture. She thought she could treat people like disposable tools. She thought numbers on a payroll mattered more than relationships, loyalty, and respect. But in the end, the same arrogance that made her fire me was the arrogance that destroyed her. She had the corner office, the title, the authority. I had none of that. All I had was the trust of people who believed in me. And that turned out to be the most powerful weapon of all. The day her company collapsed, I didn't celebrate with champagne or fireworks. I simply looked around at my thriving team, the people who had believed in me when she didn't, and I smiled. That was enough. The lesson: power doesn't come from titles or boardrooms. Real power comes from the respect you earn, the trust you build, and the people who stand with you when everything else falls apart. You can slash budgets, restructure departments, and spin as many buzzwords as you want, but once you destroy relationships, no amount of money can save you. She thought she had won when she escorted me out with security. But the truth is, that was the day I started winning. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. Tell me in the comments, have you ever seen karma serve justice this perfectly? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud, it's building. Something so strong that the people who doubted you are forced to watch from the sidelines.